Last week, we discovered that the whole blame the parents movement started with Sigmund Freud's psychodynamic theory. Then the women, rightly so, began to push back against the idea that they were the blame of all addiction. The psychological community responded by expanding the field of who they wanted to blame to include the fathers. At the same time, the feminist movement really started to grow and take off, and the feminists, with their very much anti-male rhetoric, began attacking and blaming males, to the point where now males are often portrayed as kind of a impotent, incompetent, Homer Simpson kind of individual, not capable or worth doing much, and at the same time, being the cause of addiction. So this week, let's take a look at that, shall we? Let's get back to the question. Are men responsible for the addiction? Under the blame the father motif, I've seen all sorts of stuff. I've seen the father be blamed for being too involved, for not being involved enough, for being too firm and standing his ground too strongly, or for being too easily swayed by the wife. I've seen him be accused of being too strict of a disciplinarian, or not strict enough of a disciplinarian. Being too present. I don't know a man could be too present, but being too present and active in the children's lives. To being too distant, uninvolved, possibly even absent. Basically, no matter what the father does under this motif, it never measured up and it wasn't good enough, and that's why the child is addicted, because a child is trying to fill a gap that the father left in their lives. Interestingly, I see this most often argued by feminists who will tell you all day long that they don't need a man, but then anything that goes wrong, they need a man at least to blame. The hypocrisy is kind of funny. On the one hand, men are these incompetent, impotent creatures that need a woman's guiding hand to do anything. On the other hand, these men are so powerful that they can dictate how other people's lives turn out, even dictating the complete and total ruin of someone else's life. On the one hand, men are rather slow and dim-witted. On the other hand, they're so brilliant that they should instinctively know the exact buttons to push in the exact sequence to ensure that a child's life turns out perfect. And if the child doesn't, it's because the rather slow and dim-witted, brilliant genius didn't push the buttons in the right sequence. On the one hand, men need a woman's guiding hand to do anything of consequence. After all, isn't the saying, behind every successful man there's a strong woman? Well, if the man was successful in creating an addict of the child, does that not mean by your own saying that there was a strong woman helping push in that direction? Seems to me it's a pretty hypocritical way to look at things. The other thing that crosses my mind when I hear a feminist say this is, if that's true, then surely in all this time of studying addictions, we should have some good scientific studies that support this idea, right? Now, since the argument is men versus women as parents, then the most realistic way to compare would be a single mother home versus a single father home, right? Well, in that case, 5 times. Children are 5 times more likely to commit suicide in a single mother home than in a single father home. 9 times. Children are 9 times more likely to drop out of high school in a single mother home than in a single father home. 10 times. Children are 10 times more likely to develop a serious drug abuse problem such as addiction in a single mother home than in a single father home. 14 times. Children are 14 times more likely to commit rape when they grow up in a single mother home than in a single father home. 32 times. Children are 32 times more likely to run away from home in a single mother home than in a single father home. 70%. Girls are 70% more likely to develop teenage pregnancy. 70%. 70% of all child murders happen in a single mother home than in a single father home. Now, it would be really easy to look at those statistics and say, aha, it's the mother's fault. Not so fast. Fathers have problems too. And in fact, single-parent homes of any gender have much more problems than dual-parent homes. For example, let's take a look at some of these following statistics to help illustrate that point, shall we? 63% of all youth suicides are from single-parent homes. 90% of all runaway children are from single-parent homes. 70% of all children in juvenile detention center are from single-parent homes. 85% of all youths sitting in adult prison are from single-parent homes. 80% of all rapists come from single-parent homes. 75% of all children in drug rehabilitation centers are from single-parent homes. If you don't like those numbers, don't argue with me. I got them from the U.S. Census Bureau. Basically, though, what it comes down to is to have the best chance at success. Your child will do best if he has both mother and father living together as husband and wife, mother and father, in the same household, each fulfilling their God-ordained roles properly. People usually react to statistics such as this most often by saying, so what? Then you're in favor of us staying in a loveless marriage for the sake of the children? The till death do us part wedding vows and all of that? Well, 2 ways I would like to respond to that. The first is, no one told you to get married and have children. That was your choice, and children come with responsibility. But on the other hand, am I in favor of you remaining in a loveless marriage for the sake of the children? No, I'm not. Not at all. And that might sound counterintuitive, but what I'd like you to think about is, I view that as a false dichotomy. Your only 2 options are not stay in the marriage in a loveless marriage for the children or divorce for your own happiness. You have a better option. Divorce is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Your feelings change over time with time and experiences. Where you may have fallen out of love, many people find they fall back in to love if they are willing to work on their marriage. So Am I in favor of you staying in a loveless marriage for the sake of the children or divorcing? No. I'm in favor of you working on your marriage to restore the love for the sake of both yourselves and the children. I think that's a much better way. Considering the statistics, it's entirely reasonable. What do you think? Apollo, come on, buddy. Let's go.